On April 29th, the government of the Virgin Islands celebrated the completion of the expansion of the cruise pier. The day was filled with activities and 2 ceremonies were conducted for the historic and festive occasion. At 8 a.m., the opening ceremony for the expansion of the cruise pier commenced as the Norwegian Getaway's inaugural call to the port of Rotown was recognized with a plaque presentation to the captain, and one couple was awarded with a return and stay dream vacation. Remarks were made by Governor His Excellency John S. Duncan OBE, Premier and Minister of Finance Dr. the Honorable D. Orlando Spate OBE, Chairman of the BVI Ports Authority Board Mr. J. Edward D. Castro, Leader of the Opposition Honorable Ralph T. O'Neill, Managing Director of the BVI Ports Authority Mr. Claude Skelton Klein, Senior Vice President of Operations Destiny Cruise Lines Mr. Anthony Connelly, Senior Vice President, Destination and Ports Operations, Norwegian Cruise Line Holding Limited, Mr. Colin Murphy, IDL Meridian Joint Venture Limited Representative, Mr. Richard Starkey, and Minister for Communications and Works, Honorable Mark Vanterpool. The opening ceremony ended with an anchor drop by government officials as a new beginning for the tourism industry in the Virgin Islands was declared. In the evening, a large crowd gathered as the celebration for the expansion of the cruise pier commenced. Governor His Excellency John S. Duncan, OBE, congratulated the government on the completion of the cruise pier and encouraged persons to have pride in the Virgin Islands as it offers an array of unique qualities.
Ladies and gentlemen, this morning the Honourable Premier talked about the construction of this pier and the agreements with our business partners, Norwegian and Disney, as a, quote, significant step forward, unquote, for the territory. And for my part, I applaud the government for its efforts to complement the work of the private sector across the territory to refurbish and to renew the facilities we offer to visitors, to ensure that the Virgin Islands remain a first-class tourist destination in the Caribbean. The Honourable O'Neill, for his part, has often talked publicly about his view on the, quote, action men of the territory. And I think all of us here today would concede that today we see the results of a first-class action team led by Honourable Vanterpool and Permanent Secretary McMaster. But as both the Premier and Honourable Ralph O'Neill have frequently pointed out, this is only part of a much wider effort to renew and restore our historic sites from the former prison on Main Street, the Quaker graveyards, to the African church in Kingston. I hope the whole community will now join in this effort to build a living narrative of the remarkable people who have lived and live in this territory. In his remarks this morning, Honourable O'Neill took us back to the late 1950s, when the administrator used to invite cruise ship passengers for drinks at Government House. He invited me as your governor to consider renewing this tradition. While I'm of course open to new ideas and more than willing to engage in discussion with my colleagues in Cabinet, I suspect there may be some reluctance to fund the required upgrade of Government House that would be needed to accommodate the number of visitors that come to Road Town on an average day during the tourist season. But joking apart, we are privileged in Road Town to have the unique historic site of the former Government House. No other Caribbean island is able to give tourists the opportunity for a behind-the-scenes look at how governors and administrators of the past lived and worked, and where British royalty stayed. Just before coming down, I checked how many visitors from today's cruise ship visited Old Government House. And I'm sad to say it was only 20. My point here, ladies and gentlemen, is that if we are to succeed in offering tourists a unique experience, we need all of those involved in the tourist industry to play their part. This morning, I talked about the importance of having a world-class customer service, whether that be from our officials, customs, immigration, police, or in our shops and restaurants as we welcome the tourists to our islands. We need to ensure that the visitor who comes to our islands have a unique BVI experience and that we promote what is unique about the British Virgin Islands. I was pleased to see that on the Welcome Centre behind you, we have a mural by one of our local artists. We have many talented artists in this community and we need to promote them. I hope that the taxi drivers and those who meet and greet our tourists will help them to understand that there is much more to the British Virgin Islands than simply our wonderful beaches, beautiful though they are. We have a unique product, but as I say, we require all involved in the tourist industry, from the taxi drivers to the shop and restaurant owners, to those who run our major businesses, the tourist board and public officers, to play their part to ensure that we promote it effectively.
The newly expanded pier is expected to bring more tourism revenue into the territory, but most importantly, it's expected to secure a future for Virgin Islanders. Premier and Minister of Finance had this to say.
Today is more than just a celebration. It's more than just another project completed. It's more than just a promise that taxi drivers will have more passengers and tours. It's more than just a promise that restaurants will have more diners, vendors greater sales, and historical sites and attractions more visitors. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, today is about security, your security. The kind of security that comes with the guarantee that the Virgin Islands will have ships, not occasionally but regularly all year round. We thank Norwegian and Disney Cruise Lines for making that commitment and in believing in the strength of the BVI brand. This morning we exchanged mementos for the inaugural call, and I took the opportunity to especially welcome the captain and crew of the Getaway. I also thank Mr. Conley representing Disney for his support of this territory. This level of confidence and security says to our people that weathering a storm takes action, not lip service. We can now welcome and accommodate the new wave of megaships that largely represent the cruise tourism industry. This kind of security brings with it more jobs, learning and training opportunities to prepare people for the many prospects in cruise tourism. This is the kind of security that we have been asking all of you in the hospitality and the tourism industries to get ready for. Because the Virgin Islands story is no longer about just sun, sea, and sand. In fact, everybody is boasting about the natural beauty of their destinations. And our Virgin Islands must stand out like a gem, unique from all the rest. Whether it's Tortola, Virgin Gorda, Anegada, Johnson Lake, or any of our unique islands, the expansion with this cruise pier means security for all. And a new story to tell is that the BVI is a magnet for memorable experiences. My people, the new story of the Virgin Islands is about selling a service, a niche to intentionally turn day trippers into overnight arrivals. Our story is about developing new attractions to enhance the tourist experience and real-assessing services to diversify our products and offerings. Our story is about positioning this gem of the Caribbean to be an even greater leader in tourism. This is our shared vision. As small as we are standing tall among giants in financial services, and we can do the same in tourism, in health, in education, in sports, in music and arts, and I can go on and on. We are a talented people, and all it takes is for us pulling together. It takes both you and me, the government and you the people, the public and the private sector, pooling our resources and remaining patriotic to the BVI brand, investing in our own product.
Cruisers on the Norwegian Getaway will experience these memorable stories and experiences as described by the Premier. In fact, they will receive these memorable experiences once a week, every week, throughout the year, according to Managing Director of the BVI Ports Authority, Mr. Claude Skelton-Klein.
The ship that you saw here this morning will also be here on next Tuesday. And thereafter, the Norwegian Cruise Line Getaway will visit our shores once a week, every Wednesday throughout the entire year. Under this premier, under this minister for the subject, this development is a game changer. It is no longer a high season or a slow season. For the first time in the history of these British Virgin Islands, we will have 52-week-a-year cruise tourism. The scripture records in the Hebrew text of the Proverbs, the sage says in chapter 29 and verse 18 of the Proverbs that where there is no vision, that the people perish. And today I want to especially thank our leader, our premier, our minister for this subject, this government, for their visionary leadership in seeing to it that this project has come in part to fruition and the best is still yet to come. Put your hands together for them. Where you're sitting to your right, what is called our terminal building or our welcome center, part of the team of BVI and TPPL, and what we have here and what you will notice today, and more specifically in the weeks and months to come, is that you will notice that every store in this welcome center are persons, entrepreneurs, owners, operators that are BVI landers selling BVI products and services. It is our goal, in the words of Colin Murphy, not to just make this another generic destination in the Caribbean, but for us to be uniquely BVI. And we want persons, you never have a second time to make a first impression. And when they disembark these ships, we want them to experience at first hand what it is to be in these British Virgin Islands.
The Cruise Pier expansion project was also a joint collaboration by many contractors and subcontractors locally.
Every contractor or contractor company craves for an opportunity to be able to show his stuff, an opportunity to show what he or she can do. I am proud to say that we were given just such an opportunity. We are pleased, therefore, to form a joint venture of Ideal Meridian for this purpose, the marriage between Ideal Projects, contractors based in Vancouver, Canada, and Meridian Construction. We then combine our respective resources to bid for and ultimately execute the project. Those who may speak to the project management side will perhaps go into some detail as to what we were tasked to accomplish. But to summarize, after certain design issues were ironed out, actual construction work began in September 2014. Do the maths. This is 8 months of work we have out here inside here. 8 months. We work 7 days a week, day and night, ladies and gentlemen, and well into the nights and early mornings. Some mornings, our crew did not leave up until 3 a.m. We have, we believe, demonstrated our capability of delivering high-quality work under pressure. Equally important, though, as was said earlier today, we have shown that right here in the BVI, we have the talent and capability to construct, deliver a world-class facility.
The action team of the Ministry of Communications and Works has been on a mission of bettering the territory's infrastructures to enhance the lives of Virgin Islanders and visitors. Minister for Communications and Works, Honorable Mark Vanterpool, had this to say in his remarks.
It was in February of 2012, I was invited to be a guest at a meeting of the Florida Caribbean Cruise Association, FCCA, where I was told that the state of affairs at the cruise pier in the British Virgin Islands needed urgent attention. If we were to remain competitive in the global tourism industry. In fact, I would let you know that before I went there, I was expecting that, because I was invited to one of the ships that had arrived before in the inaugural call, and I stood on the bridge of that ship and looked down on our cruise pier and our landside and was very much ashamed. I looked out and saw mess. I looked out and saw tents. I looked out and saw old trailers, old trucks, old vehicles, and perhaps if I didn't go on top of the bridge and look out, I may not have seen them myself, like others before. I came off the bridge, Mr. St-Hilaire and the rest of the team, my then permanent secretary, Ms. Arlene Smith-Thompson will tell you, I said to them, Mr. St-Hilaire, you have a job to clean up this place immediately. And I must give him a round of applause. Mr. St-Hilaire went to work right away. Immediately trucks were moved, all vehicles were moved, all containers were moved, and eventually we were able to provide a new craft alive village where we were able to move vendors to where they can enjoy their business and remove the old tents from around here. I think that deserves a round of applause. I made a pledge, ladies and gentlemen, as Minister of Communications and Works, on behalf of the Premier and this government, to the group at the FCCA in Florida on February 2012, that the state of affairs in the Virgin Islands wouldn't remain that way for too long. We are very pleased. In fact, I sat at that time around a big round table in the conference room of Norwegian Cruise Lines in Miami, where Mr. Colin Murphy heads up, and told them that we are interested in cruise industry in the Caribbean and we will make a change. Colin, I'm glad today to let you know that we've delivered on that promise, and that deserves a clap. We are pleased that we are here today as a significant milestone towards that promise. The unwavering commitment of our Premier, Dr. D. Orlando Smith, the Premier and Minister of Finance, our Ministers of Government, and the resolve of the House of Assembly in a greater sense as a body to execute this project is highly commendable. Ultimately, having gone through various stages of negotiations and procurement, we were able to accomplish these two 15-year berthing agreements with 2 consecutive 5-year renewals with our partners in this development, our partners Norwegian Cruise Line Holdings and Disney Cruise Lines. Ladies and gentlemen, we express our appreciation in earnest to Mr. Carl Holtz, president of Disney Cruise Lines, who initiated his interest in a memorandum of understanding with the previous government and continued his commitment on behalf of Disney Cruise Line under this government. Give a round of applause to Mr. Holtz. We also commend Mr. Russell Dare, Director of Global Port Operations and Development for Disney Cruise Lines, for his endless hours spent to complete the berthing arrangements and monitor the progress of this project to date. Similarly, you heard from Mr. Colin Murphy, Senior Vice President of Destination and Port Operations for Norwegian Cruise Lines, who has invested many, many hours. And he and I went back and forth, Miami here. I wouldn't say what he said on the ship today, but we met at lunch, we met at dinner, we met, I don't remember meeting in the bar, as he said, but he did say that we made the right decisions in the bar. But Mr. Murphy and I and our managing director spent many hours as we tried to wrap up a negotiation and a very solid berthing agreements. The anxieties, frustrations, excitement, and fulfillment all along the way to get us to the stage. I remember when I thought it was all over and everything was set for the berthing agreement, here comes an email from Colin. Something is wrong. But we were glad that we got it all settled. I thank Mr. Andrew Duckworth, Director of Destination Management for Norwegian Cruise Lines, who was here and have been putting his input in this. I must not forget Mr. Hugh Darley of Ideas Limited, who was one of the designers of the original concept, and I wish to thank him for his contribution to this project. Ladies and gentlemen, I am pleased as Minister on behalf of the government to work closely with my former permanent secretary, to have been working closely with my former permanent secretary in the Ministry of Communications and Work, Mrs. Arlene Smith-Thompson, as she had her input, and the former Managing Director of the BVI Ports Authority, Mr. Vincent O'Neill, as well as take this opportunity to thank and commend the former Acting Chairman of the BVI Ports Authority Board, Mr. Greg Adams, and the former board members for their input in getting to this stage. I'm particularly pleased to commend our current chairman of the board, Mr. Eddie Castro, and his team for the tireless hours that they have put in to ensure that, as directed through Cabinet's approval, this significant capital project is carried out on behalf of the government and people of the Virgin Islands. Give the board, the directors, and all involved a round of applause. When I saw the state of affairs, I went back to my ministry and said to my permanent secretary, this project does not demand a now and again attention. I want this project to have a daily attention. Hence, we immediately hired a consultant on the project. And that consultant was none other than Mr. Claude Skelton-Klein, who took on the project from that time as a special advisor to me as minister to ensure for 1 year that it got full attention on a daily basis. And indeed, he, in his capacity as advisor and now as managing director, have played a significant role in ensuring that we are at this stage of the project. Mr. Claude Skelton-Klein deserves a round of applause. But you see, I like to surround myself with hard-working team members. So I must include the hard work being done presently by the Action Permanent Secretary, don't get jealous, Mr. Anthony McMaster, along with Mr. Vance Lewis, my advisor, and all of the team members of the Action Ministry of Communications and Works and its various departments. I want to say thank you. A round of applause to my ministry team. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you once again.
Local vendors, musicians, dancers, royalty, and Virgin Islanders from all four corners of the territory gathered to become one at the auspicious and festive occasion. From behind the scenes, Permanent Secretary for the Ministry of Communications and Works said that because of the Pier's completions, locals can be proud.
We now have something that we can share with the visitors to the territory, but even more so, we have something that the people of the BVI can enjoy and that they can feel very, very proud of. And the government, in its leadership, made some critical decisions a year ago where it included participation from locals and that this arena had to be fully open to all Virgin Islanders, even not as a tourist, but as a local, to be able to come over at any point in time and enjoy it. And that, to me, is what makes it even more special on this particular day.
Festivities ran into the night as persons shopped in local stores at the terminal, ate Virgin Island delicacies, and danced the night away. The celebration concluded with fireworks. The Phase 2 Tortola Pier Park is slated to be completed by the end of the year. The Ministry of Communications and Works is committed to providing quality infrastructural development in support of enhancing community life for residents and visitors. For more information about the Cruise Pier and Tortola Pier Park development, visit our website at bvi.gov.vg. You can also watch monthly updates about this project on our YouTube page at www.youtube.com/BVI Government. Don't forget to follow us on Facebook and Twitter at BVI Government. For the Ministry of Communications and Works, I am Information Officer Nikita Turnbull. Thanks for watching.
We shrink down, will power reopen to restore Virgin Islands' pride, to preserve the beauty we devise a plan, to obtain ownership of your precious land. Educating our people is a golden key to maintain the success of this territory. Oh, how radiant are your daughters, success is second to none. Green and brilliant are your hillsides, they replenish our hopes and pride. Oh, beautiful Virgin Islands, your qualities can never be denied. May God richly bless this territory. May we act street things of deep. Courage for our great leaders, that they may rule our destiny. We ask for wisdom for our people, that they may live in harmony. And understanding for our children, that they may cherish this legacy. Oh, how radiant are your daughters, and how wealthy are your sons. Your beaches boast your beauty, and your success is second to none. Green and brilliant are your hillsides, they replenish our hopes and pride. Oh, beautiful Virgin Islands, your qualities can never be denied. Oh, beautiful Virgin Islands, your qualities